In this video, I'm going to predict every single NFL team's record in the upcoming 2023 season. I won't go game by game, but I will show you how I think the teams will do game by game and how they got to their final record. Because this is my video and my channel, I don't have to explain anything to you because I'm a grown man and I make my own decisions like a big boy, like a big, strong, handsome boy. Let's begin. Starting with the AFC East and the Buffalo Bills. I'm predicting that the Bills finish a stellar 13-4 this year, which should not surprise anybody considering they've been one of the best teams in the league in the last 3 to 4 years. I'm still not used to saying this, but the AFC East overall is actually pretty respectable now with Aaron Rodgers coming to the Jets, which is why I have them splitting with the Jets. The only other losses I could see on their schedule, barring some major injuries, are road losses to Cincinnati, Philly, and Kansas City, 3 of the best teams in the league. New York Jets. For the first time in a long time, there is legitimate championship aspirations around the New York Helicopters, largely thanks to the addition of future Hall of Fame quarterback Aaron Rodgers. Their entire season really depends on whether Rodgers is the Rodgers from last year, which would not be a good thing for them, or the MVP Rodgers from 2020 and 2021. Their defense is loaded, and they have a lot of skill position talent, so I'm expecting Rodgers to do well, and in turn, the team to do well as well. Their only losses I see are to Kansas City, Philly, a road game against Buffalo, and I threw in an upset, a road loss to Miami, just because, hey, any given Sunday, anything can happen. You never know. But the Jets, they finished 13-4, just like the Bills. Miami Dolphins. The Dolphins are a tough team to gauge because at times last year, their offense looked incredible when they were all healthy with Tua, Tyreek, and Jalen Waddle. But as always, you just don't know if Tua is going to be on the field, and when he's not on the field, their offense really bombed. So I'm going to say Tua's probably going to miss 4 or 5 games like he normally does, and the Dolphins should finish around 500 again because they have those 2 stellar receivers. They also have some pieces defensively now, the addition of Jalen Ramsey, Xavier Howard, Jalen Phillips too. They have good players defensively. So this is a solid team with or without Tua, but I just don't think they can hang with a team that has Josh Allen and a motivated Aaron Rodgers. I see them finishing 9-8. Finally, rounding out the AFC East with the New England Patriots. I see this season going very similar to their last couple seasons. Last year, the Patriots finished around 8-9. The biggest issue the Patriots have had since 2020 in the post-Brady era is beating good teams. They're a perfect treadmill team, and by that I mean if you give them bad teams, they'll beat up those bad teams to avoid a horrible record, but they don't really have many signature wins over the last 3 years, and I see that trend continuing this year. So I see them once again finishing 8-9. Do I think Mac Jones can play better this year than he did last year? Yes. Do I think Mac Jones will ever become anything more than an Andy Dalton type quarterback? Not really. Moving on to the AFC North and the Cincinnati Bengals, I predict that once again they will have a stellar season as long as Joe Burrow's injury, which they've been pretty hush-hush about that he suffered last month, ends up being nothing. If Joe Burrow gets hurt, then this team will go right into the shitter. There's really not much more to say. This is a team that was one drive away from going to back-to-back Super Bowls, and they've kept most of the same core talent, especially at the skill positions, so there's no need to think that they won't once again be successful. 13-4. Baltimore Ravens. The Ravens' record really depends on Lamar Jackson's health, as it always does, although they acquired the best number 2 receiver in the league off the field, Odell Beckham Jr., and have a bunch of former first-round picks at receiver. There still are not a lot of great receiving options, Mark Andrews, the tight end, being the best of the bunch in my opinion. But still, when Lamar's been healthy, they've won about 74% of their games in the regular season, which is historically great, so I'm once again predicting a very successful season for the Ravens, and I think Lamar, unlike the last 2 years, will stay healthy, maybe miss a game or 2 here and there, but I say the Ravens finish with a respectable 11-6 record. Pittsburgh Steelers, the most boring team to watch in the entire league, and yet somehow every year these motherfuckers do not finish with a losing record. Well, guess what? That streak you always hear about Mike Tomlin never having a losing record, that ends this year. I have them going 7-10 after starting off great with a pretty weak schedule before crashing back down to earth hard. I don't know, I just really, this is mostly me just manifesting them being bad because I'm sick of watching them play. Outside of a George Pickens catch every now and then, they're just completely unwatchable, and Najee Harris still sucks. Sorry, Steelers fans. I tried telling you this back when he was a rookie and everybody just said I was an idiot. Well, guess who's the idiot now? Cleveland Browns. Just like Pittsburgh, I have the Browns going 7-10, largely because I don't know how good Deshaun Watson is. The last time he was a consistently productive quarterback was over 2 years ago, and that was for a team that was 4-12. The last time he was productive and on a winning team was in 2019. Tom Brady was still on the Patriots Patriots the last time Deshaun Watson was winning and productive at the same time. So forget all the other off-field shit. Just on the field, I still have my doubts about the Browns. Also because they are the Browns and they're just one of those teams that will never see success no matter what they do. So I see them going 7-10. AFC South, Jacksonville Jaguars, the worst division in the league. So none of these teams had great records, but I said Jacksonville is going to go 11-6. I don't really see them pulling off any big upsets or winning any games that would be shocking per se. They play the Bengals, 49ers, and Chiefs. I have them losing all of those games. With the Bills too, I have them losing that game. It's just their biggest win, I guess you could argue, would be Baltimore in my opinion. But I think Trevor Lawrence will improve, and they will improve from last season. But overall, I still think they're good, not great team. Tennessee Titans, much like Jacksonville, I have them going 11-6. And I do have them upsetting the Bengals at home in week 4. But overall, it appears it's going to be another year of the Titans having a dominant ground attack, being held back by a game-managing quarterback in Ryan Tannehill. And I don't have any faith in Malik Willis. He's terrible. Will Levis looks like he's going to suck too. So the Titans are in this weird position where they're currently not bad, but the future is not looking very bright there. So this might be their last year of relevancy under Mike Vrabel, in my opinion. Still 11-6. Indianapolis Colts, unlike the Jags and Titans, who both went 11-6, this is where we see the bad side of the AFC South. I have the Colts going 5-12 as they are projected to have a rookie quarterback under center. And for all the love Anthony Richardson gets for being a physical specimen, the fact is he wasn't even good in college. So who knows if he can be good in the NFL. In addition to being a rookie, I think that spells for some serious low points. I honestly don't see them winning any games outside of a couple of games against other bottom feeders like the Texans and the Buccaneers. It's a long way from the days of Peyton Manning, that's for sure. And finally, we close with Houston, who has the potential to once again be the worst team in the league. CJ Stroud looks like shit in the preseason. He's a rookie quarterback, so he's probably going to struggle anyway. Will Anderson is probably going to make some plays, but not enough to turn a franchise around. So outside of a few wins against other bottom feeders, I do not have them winning anything. I see them going 3-14, and once again in contention for the first overall pick of the 2024 NFL Draft. Houston, we have a problem. Get it? Because they suck. You know, it's the quote from the movie, the astronaut movie. Fuck you. We round out the AFC with the AFC West and the defending Super Bowl champs, thanks to Carl Shepard's Kansas City Chiefs. Let's see. They have the best player in the league and arguably the best quarterback of all time at his absolute best right now. I see them going 15-2, maybe 14-3 if they already have the 1 seed locked up during the last week of the regular season and they rest their starters and they lose to the Chargers. That's the only way this could change. Other than losing a game to the Chargers, because the Chargers always seem to play them tough, and against my Eagles, I don't see anybody beating them in the regular season at least. So should be another MVP season for Mahomes. Los Angeles Chargers, the enigma of the NFL. They're always super loaded with talent, and yet there's always injuries, and they end up always seeming to underachieve. And despite Justin Herbert being a very good player, he hasn't had that one breakout season yet, that historical breakout season that puts him in the no doubt top 2 or 3 range. And I think this Chargers season is going to be very similar. I think they're actually going to start out 10-4, and in typical Chargers fashion, they're going to end up losing the last 3 games of the season. They have a home game versus the Bills. The Bills will win that. They have a home game versus Kansas City, and Mahomes owns them there. But to me, I'm saying they're going to lose on the road at Denver in the second to last week of the season because Justin Herbert has played 3 games at Mile High Stadium, and he's lost all 3 of them. I see that trend continuing this year. So the Chargers finished 10-7, but will they get a wild card spot? We'll have to find out. Las Vegas Raiders. This absolutely kills me to do this as a Jimmy Garoppolo lover, but I just don't think the Raiders will be that good this year. I see them going 6-11, and a big reason for that is because I don't trust Josh McDaniels as a head coach. Devontae Adams should be Devontae Adams, and also with Jimmy, you just can't trust his health. Jimmy Garoppolo is so handsome that his body cannot contain all his handsomeness inside of his body, which causes him to get injuries and broken legs and separated shoulders and shit. So you can't trust on Jimmy G to stay healthy. So either way, the division they're in, they really don't stand a chance. And finally, we get to Denver, who have done absolutely nothing and are boring as shit. Probably the second or maybe most boring team in the league, along with the Steelers. I, once again, even in Sean Payton's first year, I have them going 6-11. I do think Russell Wilson individually will be better than he was a year ago, but I just, for whatever reason, again, if they were in a different division, maybe I could see them being a 9 to 10 win team, but their division is just hell. And I just think that outside of a couple gimme wins, that they're not going to be a contender again. And they're going to be once again for the 8th straight year on the outside looking in come playoff time. We go over to the NFC now, starting with the NFC East champion, Philadelphia Eagles. I have them starting out on fire and finishing 15-2. Their only losses to me are going to be in back-to-back weeks, a home loss versus 49ers and a road loss versus Dallas, because they always seem to struggle in Dallas. I think that they will get their revenge on the Chiefs, at least in the regular season. As I look through the rest of their schedule, their game at the Jets is the only other one I could see them feasibly losing. But either way, this is a 13-14 win team. Jalen Hurts should be even better than he was last year when he should have won the Super Bowl, unfortunately for his defense and for Carl Sheffers in the field. But I see them finishing 15-2 and once again being the best in the NFC. Dallas Cowboys, America's favorite team to consistently miss the conference championship game every year. For as much as I hate them as an Eagles fan, right now they are good, and Dak Prescott is just good enough to get you beat and just good enough to get you to the playoffs and break your heart. So I see them winning 11 games, going 11-6, but they won't really have any statement wins outside of the one home primetime game win against my Eagles. Again, they have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. They have 6 primetime games. Stop putting these motherfuckers on primetime until they make it to the conference championship game, okay? Biggie Smalls and Tupac Shakur have not missed a Dallas Cowboys conference championship game since they've been dead. Think about that. The New Jersey Giants. Last year, I feel, was a fluke for the Giants. I say this every video, but I say it for a reason. I don't think Daniel Jones is good. I think he, at best, is average, which is why I think the Giants will regress badly this year to a 5-12 record. Much of the same like it was for a lot of years before their little fluke outburst last year. But in a way, I am glad that they exist because they are 2 free wins for the Eagles every year. But overall, I just don't think this team, until they get a quarterback, a respectable quarterback, I'm not going to take them seriously. So I have them going 5-12. And finally, we have the Washington Commanders. The Commanders might finally be free of Dan Snyder, but they are not free of terrible football. I expect them to be one of the worst teams in the league. Yes, even worse than the Giants. And I think they will go 3-14 this year. And that largely is because I don't know what to expect out of Sam Howell. But knowing Washington's history with quarterbacks, I highly doubt Sam Howell will turn out to become the next great quarterback in the NFL and make them winners. So they're going to be 3-14. But hey, at least Snyder's gone, right? Moving on to the NFC North, Green Bay Packers. In a surprising twist, I looked at the Packers schedule and I really think this team could be good even after losing Aaron Rodgers. I think they're going to go 12-5. I think Jordan Love, my gut just says that he's going to be not terrible. And when you look at the rest of the roster, they have some good pieces in place, especially defensively. So they should be good. 12 wins, 11 wins, somewhere in that range. But really, as always, the key is going to come down to whether or not Jordan Love ends up being somebody or he's just another guy. If Jordan Love is just a game manager, then yeah, Packers are fucked. Detroit Lions, everybody's favorite team that isn't their favorite team. Last year, they went 9-8 and ended the season on a really hot streak. This year, I see them bouncing to 10-7. Maybe slightly disappointing considering some of the preseason expectations, but again, this is the Detroit Lions franchise. I keep saying this. You have to keep your expectations low when you're talking about the Lions, because the moment you think they finally are set up for success, some shit's gonna happen. Jared Goff had a good season last year, but he's still extremely questionable on the road. They should still be very good at home, but I don't know. I think they're gonna be a 10-7 team, barely better than last year. They have a lot of room to improve on defense as well. Minnesota Vikings. Yes, I do not believe the Vikings will win 13 games again like they did last year, where they somehow had a negative point differential. I think we will see the reversion to the normal Kirk Cousins standard of him putting up great stats, but the team somehow being 500 or a game above or below 500. I have the Vikings going 9-8 this year. I just think they're the prime regression candidate of regression candidate. All those one-score games they snuck out last year, not going to go their way this year. This is just the law of averages. This is how it works, folks, unless you're Tom Brady. They also have a tough schedule. So they got the Eagles, they got the Chiefs, they got the 49ers, they got the Bengals. You know, their schedule is pretty tough. So 9-8 mediocrity for the Vikings in what could be the last year of the Kirk Cousins era. And finally, we finish with the Chicago Bears. Justin Fields right now, to me, is the most overrated quarterback in the league right now. There are people who think he's a superstar. I think he sucks, as you all know. And I think that's going to continue. I think the Bears go 4-13. I think Justin Fields will keep his routine going where he has one or two amazing plays a game, and then the rest of the game he's complete dog shit, while the defense continues to be bad as well. And that's not a good recipe for success. I think Eberflus gets fired, and I think the Bears will try and reset next year with Caleb Williams in the draft. I'm predicting that right now. We move to the NFC South, which should once again be complete dog shit this year. Starting off with the New Orleans Saints with the newly additioned Derek Carr, who is known for crying at will. I think the Saints will get off to a pretty good start. They have a pretty weak schedule to begin, but in typical Derek Carr fashion, this is a guy you cannot trust late in seasons. I see them having a later season collapse. Still, though, have them barely finishing with double-digit wins, 10-7. They'll make the playoffs because I think the David Carr-Olave connection will be a real thing, and their defense should be better than it was a year ago. Still have a lot of pieces there, so I think that will be enough. And then, of course, I think they'll probably get promptly blown out in their first playoff game because Derek Carr is a career loser. Carolina! We go to Carolina. The first overall pick, Bryce Young, who I'm not a draft expert, I'm not a draft scout, but I just don't understand why Bryce Young went first overall. He's so tiny. He's so tiny that when he starts acting up, you can put him in your pocket. And I think that's going to show up if he even survives the entire 17-game season, which I don't think he will. I think he's slated to, of course, miss a couple games. And their backups suck too. So this is a team that I have winning only 5 games, going 5-12, just pure dog shit. So do not expect much out of Panthers. Tampa Bay is another team you also cannot expect much out of now that Tom Dilfer has finally retired. The question is, how long will Baker Mayfield be the starting quarterback for before they put Kyle Trask in, which honestly is a pretty terrifying sentence to say out loud if you're a Buccaneers fan. And I mean a real Buccaneers fan, not a Brady transport for 3 years. I'm talking about when you were there through the Chris Sims eras and the Bruce Gradkowski eras and the Josh Freeman eras, okay? This is a team that still got some offensive talent. Mike Evans, Chris Godwin, still got some guys there, but, you know, they just don't have the quarterback. So I see them going 4-13. And finally, the last team, I think Atlanta is slated to be one of the worst teams in the league this year. I have Atlanta going 3-14. And the biggest reason is because every single reporter covering the preseason for the Falcons is holding on to any Desmond Ridder tape and throws like it's the Zapruder film. Like they're hiding how dog shit Desmond Ridder is. And in today's NFL and the Falcons, Bijan Robinson should be a great running back. Falcons have a great running game. I get it. In today's NFL, you can't throw the ball. You're not going to win anything. And maybe 3-14 is a little bit too harsh or too extreme. But guess what? The Falcons, you're responsible for my worst memory as a sports fan, blowing a 25-point lead to Tom Brady in the last 18 minutes of the Super Bowl. I still have no fucking idea how you did it. So fuck you. This is what you deserve. 3-14. Final division is one of the strongest divisions, the NFC West. Starting off with the San Francisco 49ers, I have the Niners going 15-2, and this is assuming that Brock Purdy stays healthy all year. The only 2 games I see them dropping are an early season loss on the road to the Rams, as Stafford and Kupp will be back in swing, as well as Aaron Donald. A trap game, you could say. And another road loss in the later part of the season on the road at Seattle. Those 2 teams always duke it out, and it always goes down to the wire no matter what their records are. I think those will be the only 2 slip-ups for them. I think they will win the 1 seed in the NFC. This might surprise you. I think they will win the 1 seed over the Eagles because they will beat the Eagles head-to-head. But in the end, the Eagles will go into San Fran in the NFC Championship game and take a giant dump all over their field in order to go back to the Super Bowl, which will only make it that much more victorious. But anyway, 49ers 15-2. We go to the Seahawks, and I'm largely betting that Geno Smith's 2022 season was not some complete complete outlier. I had the Seahawks going a respectable 10-7, but as always, I just don't think they have the talent yet to really compete with the big boys. Maybe if they were in another division, if the 49ers weren't in the division, I would feel a lot better about their chances of potentially winning a Super Bowl. But the other thing is, Geno, we all love him for a comeback story. He still has a lot of shit on his resume. So until I see him play well in the playoffs, there's always going to be that question as well. But Seattle, 10-7. Los Angeles Rams, after a dreadful 5-12 season as the defending Super Bowl champions last year, which was riddled with injuries, Matthew Stafford's back healthy. Cooper Kupp is back healthy. And in 2021, they had arguably the greatest quarterback-wide receiver connection season in history. Aaron Donald is always there, which is always something to respect. However, it takes more than just 3 great players, in Stafford's case, a good player, to carry a team in football. So while I think the Rams will be respectable, they are not the super team that won the Super Bowl a couple years ago. I see them going 9-8 in a very, very difficult division. And finally, the last team in my preview, the Arizona Cardinals. This team, I don't have them winning a single game. There is not a single game on their schedule besides maybe the road game against Houston that I could see them winning with their current roster and their quarterback, Colt McCoy. He's a career backup. He sucks. And I don't think they're going to throw Kyle Murray out there by the time he's fully healthy. Because by the time Kyle Murray is fully recovered from his ACL injury, it's going to be what? November, December? They're going to be well out of the playoffs by then. There won't be a point. This is assuming Kyler Murray does not play a single game. I think the Arizona Cardinals become the first team to ever go 0-17 in a season.